Hey, good morning, everyone. And today, I have a really fascinating guest. She was a prime mover in getting our brain conference off the ground. And we'll touch on that. But please, um, I am wanting to welcome Dr. Jane Ross to join us. Good morning, Jane. How are you doing?
Well, hello, Jocelyn. What a nice pleasure to see you again. And it's not every day that one is called a fascinating person. You can just keep that right up. Go ahead. Let me hear
Well,
more.
hey, I could go
Pleasure
on
to
and
work with you, I assure you.
I can go on and on about you, Jane. But just briefly, in about two or three sentences, what is your background? I
My
know.
background, I started off, I am rural and cosmopolitan in that order. I have worked all over the world, practically every continent except South America. I grew up on a farm near Edinburgh and Kingman, and I love my rural background very much. It served me very well in my work at the University of Cambridge, in the United Arab Emirates, in Asia, in Africa, and in the US of A, working as a professor for many years for the University of Maryland as a director in their Master of Business Administration program, MBA. And I was the director of global business there, with lots and lots of students around the world and faculty on my team around the world. So here we are, Jocelyn. Little old me, sitting in the snow, happy as can be.
Well, I'm beginning to be questioning my being happy in the snow. I've been housebound for a week. Eh, I'm not liking that. But,
Well, I love winter. It's my favorite season. But I
well,
do know the walls do get a little familiar, don't they?
18. Now, we're gonna backtrack quite a ways. And your husband, Jack, had a stroke. Um, Briefly, do you want to tell us about that?
Well, that he did. He had a stroke, and that is a huge, huge experience for a person and for a relationship and for a couple. It was enormous. No warning. All of a sudden, February 28th, 2021, there he was on the kitchen floor, and my nursing background served me well because I could see what was happening to him or guess that that's what it was, a stroke. And here we are almost 4 years later, and he has never lost hope for a day, Jocelyn. They told me he was going to die 3 times, but he didn't. He's still here, and he has made so much progress, as you know. And it really does come down to the brain, doesn't it? And how our brains can help us. Because talk about being trapped in a room in the weather, he's trapped in his body in the weather and in a room all seasons, or he has been quite trapped. And you know about that because you've experienced that as well.
Uh, that is, yes. Now, I mean, no matter who it is, a stroke is definitely life altering. Um, Now, tell me what happened. Okay. Thank goodness he survived. And then they sent him for rehab to Two Hills. How did that go?
Well, some rehab is a whole lot better than no rehab, for sure. But my dismay, not with the people at Two Hills, but with the whole system, is that we really, really have a huge work to do in support of people with any kind of brain injury. It's not something that happens independently, it happens in a community of people. And it really needs to be a community of people that addresses the issue in a long, ongoing way. And thank God that we have had a community of people around us, and not least of which was the brain conference group. It's been phenomenal.
They have been fabulous. Now, what was the reason that they gave for, I believe it was only a mere 6 weeks of rehab?
Well, 6 weeks, they said he was, and I read it in the right on the communication that he was not making enough progress and that he would have to go back to the hospital. He went back to the hospital for another, what, couple of months. And then they said, time to get out. You have to leave. You have to go to long-term care. And he and I said, what? Let's see if we can do it by ourselves. And so we headed in that direction, and that's what we have done. And I am so thankful for our place here in the country, for the sky and the trees. Oh, dear people who are observing, some of the best healers we have are the sky and the silence and the trees and the nature all around us. Tremendous healers. And we often think we need medicines, but we need to learn how to engage with the nature around us. In fact, Jocelyn, I have an article right here. It keeps popping into my life. I can't lose it, it seems, and I don't really try to save it, but it just keeps popping up. It's called Nature on Prescription, where Jack did his doctorate at the University of Exeter in England. They have a program where people learn how to be teachers of nature use and closeness, and how doctors can prescribe nature for various kinds of brain injury and other injuries that people have in their lives. It says here for weight management, physical activity, diabetes, and all kinds of things, looking at life and treatment in a holistic way and using the mechanisms of nature in activities that are likely to provide more success in improving people's health and well-being. So they also call it green recovery. They have in UK a whole program called Green Recovery Fund that is linked to the National Health Services.
Wow.
And I don't think we've quite heard that here, have we?
No, I have never heard of that around here for sure.
Were
Um,
you ever prescribed to get out in nature as part of your rehab?
Never. I mean, the only reason I get out there is because I choose to do it. Has someone ever said, "Oh, you should go out"? No. I insist, to the chagrin of some of my aides, on walking outside, even when it's winter. I mean, last week I did not, but they don't like the cold too much. And I just, oh well, that's the way it is. But
Well, I don't want to go too far sideways, Jocelyn, but when we think of the blessings and the beauty of the snow, I lived in Thailand for a while. My neighbor, the second day I was there, called and said, I've got something for you. She brought over 50 large, long-stemmed pink roses. That was a tremendous gift. Think of what that would cost here. And I say, here, I just look outside and I have diamonds by the millions in the snow.
oh,
Diamonds by the million.
I totally agree. Now, we're going to go back to Jack for a moment. And um, can you tell me a bit? I know that I'll be talking to Wen in January, but give me a brief summary of synaptic.
Oh, Synaptic in Calgary is glorious. Morris and Hazel Flewelling of Red Deer point us in their direction. Jack went to Synaptic, Synaptic. You can look it up on the web in Calgary for 8 days. That I tell you, Jocelyn, he got more help there than in 8 months or 16 months or 24 months of anything else. He walked in the room and there was a big sign on the wall saying, Conquering Limitations. And that's what it's about across the lifespan, from little kids like 3, 4 years old in their little wheelchairs to a doctor who'd fallen off a mountain and who couldn't move, to very old people, just working their hearts out with those beautiful people with a different attitude about personal mobility after brain injury. was very inspiring. So much of it is attitude, isn't it?
They certainly didn't say, oh, we think he's a little too old. None of that.
No, they don't even think ageism. They just go with the person.
Oh, that
Jack is 84 and he's going strong. He's not old in his mind and not at all, even if he did have a brain injury.
no. Well, I mean, I've met him. He's a lovely person. Nothing wrong with his cognitive abilities. Like, yeah, absolutely. Age should never be a barrier. Now,
We have a lot of work to do to stomp out aging in this country. We really do.
and
We have a lot of work to change the thinking and the language around disability. When I worked in the Middle East, they had stomped out the word disabled. They used the word determined in place of disabled. We've got a long ways to go until we make that bridge to going from disable or can't to ability, what you can do.
Uh, you know, I totally concur with you there. Um, we really need to see the ability in people. And of course, along with that, also make access. Like we are pretty lucky here in Canada with accessibility, but you know what? It can be better, right?
Oh, we have come far. It's rare now to move into a washroom where you don't have a grab bar. It might be on the wrong side of the toilet, but at least there is one.
At least there
And
is.
I can remember being in washrooms where people came in wheelchairs, and it was up to me as another user of the washroom to help that woman get onto the toilet. Just so hard for her. But we've come a long ways. But we've got a long ways to go too in our towns with accessibility, snow removal, ramps that you can actually use, and being able to get to the mobility improvement places from where you are in your wheelchairs or whatever disability you might have, or just plain socialization. There's a young man who was at our conference who so desperately needs to be around people to get well again. He needs like Association for Rehabilitation of the Brain Injured in Calgary that has a really active program for people to socialize as a prescription for wellness.
No, you will not get any argument from me there. Now, um, very briefly, I mean, I know you're doing really well now, but Jack had his stroke. How, and then what happened?
Well, then I had one too. Strokes are catchy, folks. They seem to be catchy, at least in our case, but we seem to be one in about 500,000 couples that both have a stroke. So I had mine September 15, 2023.
So,
And as you know, it's not fun.
no, it's not. But you know what? With your drive and determination and attitude, you've come such a long way. And not only that, when I see you walking, it just inspires me. And I think someday I am going to be doing what Jane's doing.
You will, Jocelyn. And the way I've done it, and I'm not saying everyone can do it this way, but I have just done everything that Dr. Norman Doidge says in his books about finding places in my brain, like maps in my brain, and going there and just working on those little places in my brain to help me envision and do things. And it's slow, but it is coming. They told me I would never walk again, too. Never would you walk again, ever, but I am.
Wow, that's unreal. So I'm also guessing that that helped perhaps motivate you and then a group of other people to put on that fabulous brain conference we had.
It really was fabulous, wasn't it? It was such a time of warmth and working together and being together with people who are interested in the same things and learning and learning and learning and doing. and celebrating learning from the lived experiences of other people like yourself. You dare tell your story. Not everyone did or does, but daring to tell one's own story is really a big part of healing, I believe.
Well, my idea about doing it is if I could inspire even one person, wow, then progress has been made. But on beyond the conference, that's had two outcomes that I know of, and I'm going to want you to elaborate more. What kind of a facility are you planning, or are we planning to have?
That's it. We take out the I. It's we. We're in a community. And if we're going to do a mobility improvement process and center in Battle River region, we need to have a community of people working together. So we're all out for that big word that starts with V, volunteers, or maybe we need a new word for it. Helpers. Let's just help each other and do this because we can do it. We did the brain conference. We had the leading person in brain neuroplasticity in the whole wide world here. And it was funded by individuals, by organizations, small organizations, and by beautiful municipalities who stepped up to the plate and said, we're going to help. And that we need to move the brain conference forward because now we have this phenomenal foundation of knowledge. And we are working on a book to put all that knowledge together in as much as we can. And now to get the brain center going. And it's envisioned to be in two places. One at Musquecheese, headed up by Chief Vern Saddleback. And then that will be for the more clinical part. And then the hands-on mobility training improvement here in Camrose, most likely. But we can have spin-offs in every municipality. Why not a mobility improvement center in Beaver County? Why not in Flagstaff? And Painthurst's already well on the way. They're wanting to partner in this. So this is just commendable with them. And we've got Musquecheese, so it's really fun. And Camrose County too is helping or helped on the conference. So
It's
hopefully, and it's different than exercise, Jocelyn. We're not talking about exercise. We're talking about a different approach to mobility improvement assisted by technology. And as Wen says at Synaptic, she never thought in all her professional years she would see so many leaps and bounds in technology that can help people who are brain injured learn to do things again.
I am
So we
look
need a bigger vision.
we do, and I'm looking forward to seeing when in January. But I think the big thing is some of it I encounter in my community is, oh, that I can't afford to go. That's too far. The conference was too expensive. And I'm thinking, wake up, people. As conferences go, that was one of the most affordable conferences, especially for the amount of information. I mean, wow, you with your connections, Jane, you had, yes, Dr. Norman Deutsch, but
And
all
Dr. Simon Sutcliffe, oh, such good people. And everyday people like Jocelyn Wanechko from Riley Viking. Yay, yay, yay. And Kevin Smook, the Reeve from Beaver County. And the people, four people from Painthurst, it was marvelous. And the chief of Musquecheese, who wants to work for the region and bring, they're starting with they have a new doctor coming at Musquecheese. They've got a brand new health center. And we want to go down there on a field trip to see it. You know, being neighbors,
I
we
think
can do a lot as neighbors
I think that's fantastic. Now, who is this publication going to be for?
for everybody, everybody who can read. And if they can't read, well, there are lots of family and social services and other adult learning services available so people can learn to read.
Wow. So in other words, anyone will be able to purchase it.
Mhm.
Wow. And hopefully, I mean, might not be able to give a firm date, but what is your projected date?
Oh, we have some very firm dates, Jocelyn. Our first drafts are due on Valentine's Day 2025. And we say Valentine's Day because this is a work of the heart and of love and of community people working together to bring knowledge to our neighbors and our friends. Because not everybody did come to the conference. I always say can't afford to, can't afford not to, really. It was really terrific value for money. It was like a graduate course on the brain, absolutely. It was accessible. And the
It,
people who delivered really cared that their message got across.
it was phenomenal. That's the only word I can use to describe it. Um, and so, in other words, I'm guessing maybe by summer of next year, we'll be able
Yeah.
to get our hands on it.
Mhm. And we haven't talked about the other wonderful thing that's happened, Jocelyn. Our little group of rural people, we have had communications one-on-one now with Health Canada. And Health Canada has told us they will help us find the right partners. And they're very excited that a group of rural neighbors, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, settler, new people, are doing a project together and that we're doing it out of rural in a small area. So, yay, Toronto, here we come. We've got some news for you. Yay, Montreal, Edmonton, and Calgary, here we come with our Battle River stories. We've
I
got
that
science, technology, philosophy, lived experiences, the whole shebang. Ethics,
I can't wait.
stroke, migraine, dementia, autism, all kinds of stuff in there.
Well, and I mean, there's some things that people sometimes don't even consider as brain related, like MS and Parkinson's.
Mhm.
Wow, all of that.
You
That's
know, I guess it was Friday, a farming couple from near here, from Bashaw, actually stopped by our place. And they said, oh, that brain conference, it was so wonderful for them because it helped them understand their son-in-law and two grandchildren who've had concussions. And they said they just didn't know anything about brain before. How much do we know about our brains? It just sits up there inside our heads, and we don't really think about it being there. It's sort of like breathing the air. What
no.
do we really know about the air?
I am so looking forward to see how this all unfolds, Jane. Definitely.
Well,
Anyway,
you know, Jocelyn, it's hard work, but it's beautiful work. Doing something beautiful for our neighbors and for our country, for our province, is something that we can give. And oh my, if any of your viewers want to help in this mission, they are so welcome. We'll find ways where you can fit in and just be you, the best you can be, and there will be a place for you.
that's fabulous, Jane. Now, um, for a moment, what can we do to combat this idea of ageism?
Well, my recipe is this, that we cannot, as people who are aged, we can't abdicate. I'm not going to abdicate me just because I'm 83. I'm going to keep being me. And if people try to push the me out of the way, well, I'll just have to have news for them and say, I am not abdicatable. I am not reducible. I am not alienable. I am here and I'm going to keep being me and I'm going to keep doing what I can, stroke or not.
Totally
And
agree.
hopefully, we used to sing in Sunday school a little song. about this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I think we have to do that when we're children. We have to do it in our 90s and our hundreds.
100% I agree with you. Now, so what advice do you give or words of wisdom for younger people who might say, well, how can we help?
Oh, we have a guy who's in grade 10 on our board, and he just loves it. It helps him grow. He's learned so much, and he's met many really, really, important people, and it's helped him gain confidence. So there's everybody's kind of knowledge. I always used to say when I was young, like in my 30s, that I needed to have people in my life who were 20 years younger and 20 years older, because that would give me a 40-year span on things. But I can't do that now that I'm in my 80s, because if I have 20 years ahead of me, that's 100, and there aren't many of those. But I can look backwards and I can be friends with young people and convey to them the fact that I appreciate them and I need them in my life.
Totally.
I don't know. What's your belief on that, Jocelyn? What do you think?
Uh, I tend to agree with you. Like, I am really fortunate. My husband had cousins in their 90s who were very cognizant and aware, and it was a joy to talk with them. On the other hand, flipping the coin, my great grandchildren who are 8 and will be too, are a joy as well. It's allowing yourself to not get stuck in a rut. Like, oh, just because I'm a little older, all I'm going to do here is sit and knit and crochet. Oh, heaven.
Wonderful. I'd like to do more of that. Honestly, Jocelyn, I would. I love to knit, but I can't anymore because of my stroke.
You know what? I used to like knitting. My mother crocheted. Unfortunately, I never, or fortunately, it just never tickled my fancy. But anyway, we are going to come to an end here. Um, any last words of wisdom?
Well, words of wisdom. Yes, we can all do something about this. Inspiring creativity through our landscape, where we're from, through our communities, the people around us, and the arts. I think that's a wonderful calling, and everybody can participate in that happy, happy activity. We all have creative forces inside of us, and just work from that creative center outwards, and off we go.
And off we go. Awesome. Jane, thank you so very much. I've totally enjoyed this conversation.
Well, I have too, and I hope other people have as well, and I hope they'll join our happy little band, Jocelyn.
I certainly hope so. And before I get to anyone else that's watching, please like the video, subscribe. What we want as many people as possible to watch, to get involved. And by subscribing, our circulation will go, and maybe our algorithms will be a little more favorable, and it'll be more visible to people. So thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again. Bye bye.